Hi, so I'm Zoe Barrett. I am the treasurer for Psi Chi, and I am here with Katrina, who is a comm student at the University of New England. Would you like to tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So she mentioned, I'm Catrina. I'm a second year and I'm from Massachusetts originally. And I went to college, undergrad down at Rhodes College down in Memphis, Tennessee. And I came back to New England 2 years ago and have loved it so far.
That's great. So the reason why we're kind of here is just to get an idea of what made you choose to come here and like the process from undergrad to grad school to become like a comm student. Um, So like how did you start looking for like what degree that you really wanted to pursue?
So when I went to undergrad, I knew I loved kind of all like biology and stuff, hated chemistry, all of that. But I fell in love with psych when I took my intro to psych class. So I got my degree. My major was neuroscience, and I got so that's Bachelor of Science. And then I started looking to medicine. I knew I wanted to um, be be a doctor at a pretty young age. And I know the two different options, MD versus DO. And I hadn't really heard about DO until my second year of college. And we had like a representative come in. DOs in certain areas down south are really prevalent. And she kind of told me about the process. And I don't know, she said something like DOs spend 2 to 3 times longer with their patients than MD patients, MD doctors, which I don't know how true that necessarily is, but I know as a doctor, I want to try to be with the patients as long as possible. I'm very people centered. So it just really kind of aligned with what I liked. So that's kind of how I got on the DO path specifically.
Okay. So what other degree options did you notice were out there when you were kind of searching for your specific path?
So I have friends, a lot of friends doubled down in the science, the hard sciences, like with biology, of course, biochemistry, molecular biology. But one thing I've noticed specifically at Unicom, they really do like non-traditional students. My roommate actually, who was a first year, she majored in TV and communications because she didn't realize she wanted to be a doctor and then had to go back and do prerequisite classes. But I think your uniqueness really stands out if you could do, if you're passionate about English or poetry or something a little different and you could do a minor in that. I think that will set you apart just because everyone coming in is pretty much heavily based with a bio major, a neuroscience major, a chemistry major. Yeah.
Are there any like specific benefits you found from like going on the DO path from undergrad?
Yeah, I love my school, and I think we have a very strong collaboration focus. We are not competitive, and I have friends all throughout the states at different medical schools, both DO and MD, and some schools you have to hide your notes. Like if you leave your notes in the library, people will come and take them to set you behind, and just very kind of a competitive, like, let's make sure the curve is good. But here it's extremely collaborative. Before every test, we have Google Docs where everyone shares their notes. Everyone shares, like if they went to a review session that people couldn't make it, they write notes specifically about it and put it out for the whole class. So I found kind of the DO path is very, we're all in this together idea, but I also do know plenty of MD schools where it's like that as well. So I don't want to seem too biased because I've only had the DO experience, not the MD experience. So I think it really depends on where you go and the caliber of people you meet and how they kind of want to get their degree.
Um, so is there like do you kind of want to talk about the process to apply for comm?
Sure. Yeah, so I actually took 2 gap years after I graduated. Something I would really recommend. And so during that I took the MCAT. One thing I do want to say is like anticipate studying more for the MCAT than you think. I kind of made it like I was working full time, but every like night I would make sure I committed about 3 hours at least to it, and do as many practice tests as you can. And then, yeah, give yourself time to take the MCAT twice. And also another thing is to get your application out as early as possible. I think DO's applications, I can't remember if it was June 1st or July 1st. It's right around MD applications come out around the same time. But if you can get your applications in that first round, it's best to be put in that pile, because when they're going through, they have all the spots open. And as the time goes and they get more, there's like less and less spots. So statistically, it has been shown you have greater odds if you get it in that first round. So, okay, so I did that. And then I did an interview process. And so once you get your interview, so I had to travel all around the country. I applied to schools everywhere, and basically you go in and interviews are all very different. I've had interviews where there's 7 different rooms and you have to like rotate, and you'll go in, you'll have to build a construction thing with a partner without using your hands. And like one, you'll have to like debate an issue and just really random things that you wouldn't expect. And then others are more traditional, like for UNE, it was more traditional interview. And they actually, on the interview board, they have a current second year student with the faculty. So you can really kind of get a sense for the students, and the students can advocate for you too to the faculty. So I really liked that part of the interview. You'll also, before that, you'll get all your secondaries in. Try to fill those out as quick as possible and send them out. But I know it's like a long haul, so don't be too hard on yourself. Because I remember just like essays on essays, and a lot of them you can try to recycle and reuse for other ones and just reword. But yeah, and then interview, and then you wait and you wait and you hope you get a good email coming your way.
So did you see anyone who didn't take a gap year? And like, can you talk about kind of like how they went through it just briefly?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I have a good friend here who came right out of college. She graduated of UNE and went straight in. And she's brilliant. She's like one of our younger members in our class, and we always joke she's the most mature. And I think it definitely has an advantage of school being so fresh on your mind, and you just got out of classes. All your biology is like right here. I think I definitely saw that with her, just with their grades in general in the beginning, really helpful. But I also see the other side, a lot of us coming in with that have been scribes, that have been EMTs. We are much better at the physical stuff and the clinical aspects of it, but it's a teaching process, so everyone will learn. So you can go either way about it. I've seen both people being very successful.
Oh, that's good. Are you enjoying it? Like, I know a lot of people are worried that, like, when you go into med school, that it kind of becomes so labor intensive and study intensive that you kind of don't enjoy the experience. Um, what do you think about that? Like, do you think you enjoy it as much as, maybe not as much as undergrad, but similar?
Um, that's a tough question because it is extremely labor intensive. There's no getting around that. It is a Saturday, and I've been here since 7, and I'll probably be here until at least 6. So it is like, you will be at the library a lot, but you also make amazing friends. And kind of when you're most miserable and you're with these people who are in the same boat as you just get through it. And you get really good support system. UNE, we have really, really good support, just because I think all my classmates are amazing. And I also had a really weird experience with starting my first year, like a lot through Zoom. because of the pandemic. So that kind of bonded our class in different ways than I'm seeing with the current first years. But everyone will say it's like drinking out of a fire hose, just all the information that's coming at you. But I like to think of it also as you go, your mouth like just gets bigger and bigger. So like it gets easier to drink. You're still going to be getting an extreme amount of information rapidly, but like you really adjust to it. And I thought a lot, like in the beginning, like, I can't do this. There's no way, like, I'm not smart enough for this. I'm not prepared compared to everyone else, but it's worked out so far. So I think it's definitely, you have to make time for yourself. But it is also, you're going to have to put your life on pause, at least for the first 2 years while you're studying. There's not much room for anything else.
Okay. So we're gonna kind of like wrap this up, but just one last question. What is the biggest piece of advice you would give someone that's considering this type of path for themselves?
It's a good question. I think if you're going to pursue medicine, you need to make sure you're pursuing it because it's what you want to do. Make sure you don't have relatives. Make sure you're not thinking about the salary or the prestige or anything like that, because it is a very hard journey. But if you love the idea of what you're going to be able to do and the idea of being able to help and practice with people, that's what's going to drive you through. And that's a strong enough thing to get through all these hoops that you're going to have to jump through. So really reflect on yourself. How much do I want this? Do I want this purely for myself? And kind of how can I get through this, and what your support system is. I think that's the strongest bit, because if you want it enough, if you see yourself being an amazing doctor and really helping people, then that's going to help you get through all of the schooling.
That's a great piece of advice. So I just want to thank you so much for doing this interview. Yeah, so that's it.
Of course. No, thank you for asking me. I would have loved this as an undergrad. So good luck, everyone. Don't stress too much. Like, you'll all make it, you will make it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.